Hello, everyone. My name is Nikki, and I want to welcome you to today's webinar presented by HyperTeam. HyperTeam's webinars are all thoughtfully prepared by experienced professionals and are designed to help small to medium businesses understand and navigate the ever-changing world of business and technology. If you have questions during the presentation, please feel free to post them in the chat. We will address as many of them as we can at the end of the webinar. Finally, this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website shortly after the presentation is over. Please look for it at www.sharepoint-florida.com. Okay, today's topic is on project management and how the right kind of project management tools can significantly increase profit margins, boost efficiency, and improve customer service. It will be presented by Peter Oxedy. Peter has 20+ years of project management experience in the U.S., as well as with the international companies in various industries. He has a BA in economics and engineering, an MBA in organizational development. He's a PhD researcher specializing in project management, and he's a Stanford certified project manager. HyperTeam's own PM Toolbox will then be demoed by our marketing associate, Shauna Ferris, and the presentation will be concluded with a question and answer session. It is now my pleasure to turn the webinar over to Peter.
Okay, thanks much. So basically, the title of the presentation, which I'm going to get through, is Delighting Customers. And besides project management, we will talk briefly about the customer relations as well, and how these two relate to each other. So basically, every business, the greatest interest is to delight customers. When that happens, then revenue is going to increase, and profit margins going to increase. Therefore, the business is starting to grow. So basically, every business wants to have that kind of goal or objective that every customer should be highly satisfied with the products or services. And that's kind of the subtitle of the presentation, is heightened customer experience with cost effectiveness. So the better we do our job, the less cost we will have, and thereby we can increase profit margins. So getting into it, the applications, which we a little bit later we talk about and demo it, are all in the SharePoint environment and Office 365 cloud environment. It's very popular, the Office 365 cloud as well as the SharePoint, and basically over 30 million subscriptions increased with 1.5 million per month. SharePoint licenses are also at a very high level of usage, 125 million licenses. 80% of the Fortune 500 companies are using SharePoint. So basically, there is a high probability that every business who uses SharePoint will work with another business using SharePoint as well. It's going to be important because of collaboration and possible partnerships and so on and so forth. Just an interesting fact is that 30% of a typical worker's day spent searching information, and that can add up to millions and millions of dollars as lost productivity in a business. So when we talk about cloud and various cloud services, it's always an issue or always a question regarding security. Basically, in these cloud services, it doesn't matter which cloud services we are talking about, Microsoft, Amazon, or Apple, whatever cloud service we talk about, or Google, obviously, there are various layers of security built in. The first and foremost is the physical layer. So all these data centers are highly protected with various biometric scannings or various authentications to enter the premises of these data centers. Different areas of the data centers are differently protected based on the data in those areas. The next layer is the technological security. Basically, there are certain processes which cannot be run or only can be run by authorized users. And there are all sorts of additional threat management systems where whatever happens in the system, immediately some kind of prevention process into action. The next one is the data security. Basically, that means the encryption of the data in various forms. And then the fourth layer is really the administration and user control. So every user has certain level of access to the system. So the username password provides that kind of additional credential to access various parts of the database. So there are two types of clouds. One is the private, the other is the public. Any kind of service which you access, for example, your emails or other type of applications which you access through your internet connections, those are accessed through the public clouds. Private cloud is your own server clusters, create a private cloud. Actually, even the public cloud is just a cluster of servers in a data center. But because of the number of users and level of access to those servers and the data on it or applications on it, therefore we call it the public clouds. When we combine the private cloud with the public cloud, we create a hybrid cloud. So, for example, a company decides that some of my data, I want to have it on my on-premise servers, but some of the features or functionality can be accessed through the public cloud, then that is a hybrid cloud configuration. Some of the companies, actually many of the companies, choose this one, and some, especially the smaller companies, choose not to have their own servers because of the additional cost and the initial maintenance and so on and so forth, which comes along with it. So smaller businesses or smaller medium-sized businesses usually use the public cloud without having their own servers. Thereby, they can decrease their cost structure. So really, what's SharePoint? So when we access the cloud, and we can have access to the SharePoint platform. It has two main capabilities. One is basically collaboration, the other is integration. The integration is when various functions can work together on various projects or various tasks. It depends on the company. Collaboration is when we work on certain documents or certain, again, tasks at the same time. So we are in different parts of the country or different parts of the world, and we can get access to that SharePoint application or the SharePoint database, and basically we can pick like a Word document. You can see it here on this chart, and the client can access the same document, the employee can access, or different outside partners can access the same Word document and work on it at the same time. Everybody will see how the other users or what the other users are doing within the same document. So it's basically collaboration can be achieved on a very high level, and many users can have access to this platform on the integration and on the collaboration level as well. So if I take a general process with a company, there are various phases to how a process runs through an organization. The first phase here in this particular process is the CRM phase. We will talk about this one in a moment. And then when basically we bring in the customer or the potential deal in that various process, then it becomes a contract. When a contract basically enters the organization, then it creates a project or a job or a case. It depends on what industry we talk about. And then when that job or project is created, that's when the project phase starts. And then the project runs its course. And then out of that one, basically, it enters the operational phase. So, for example, payroll. So that's kind of the main phases in businesses, as basically a potential customer enters the process, goes through a certain project or job, and then becomes an operational or supported customer. Now, customer relations management is basically a term most of us know and the term most of us use, and some of the businesses would like to have it, and most of the businesses should have it. Basically, this is the application, CRM, which or by which basically any business can manage customers or customer relations in a more organized and better quality manner. So as we already discussed, the customer enters the system, obviously needs to be provided different information, and that happens in the CRM system. And as the customer gets through, becomes more like an opportunity within the organization, and then hopefully the company can close on that opportunity, resulting in the contract. So that provides an opportunity for the company to be, as it can be seen, proactive. So it's not the customer nagging the company, but the company proactively knows what the customer needs. And that creates this kind of productive and flexible environment, and thereby the customer satisfaction levels can be increased. CRM is impacting several areas of every business. The first area is marketing, basically various marketing campaigns any organization is running, or organizations participating on trade shows will generate leads. This is basically a database of contacts or a database of individual and company contacts. This database has to enter the flow of the sales process. So out of these, let's just say, raw contacts or accounts, they have to be worked on, has to be seen what kind of interest that customer may have. And then if this interest becomes more specific, then basically it becomes an opportunity. It becomes an opportunity. The sales process will have the chance to close on that opportunity, and the customer becomes a customer. After that point, it's basically just a potential customer or potential lead. When the customer actually signs the contract, then from that point on, the business obviously needs to perform on that contract and support that customer in various ways as it is detailed in the contract. So that is the customer care phase of the CRM process. So this is the general process, how a CRM flow goes through various stages. So as you can see, it's right in the beginning of this process. There is the marketing or PR phase of it. There are different channels or sources through which these leads come into the database. Obviously, social media sources, trade shows, networking events, and message boards, news, articles, and so on and so forth. And then basically every company within the marketing process should have kind of a listening function. So as these different messages or different sources of data come into the organization, those need to be then recorded and need to be responded to through emails, through phone calls, and various other ways. So when that happens, really that potential contact becomes part of the CRM database and as a contact or as an account. The contact is always an individual information. Account is always a company information. So then it's basically based on what kind of trust that potential customer has, it becomes a lead. When that lead becomes specific, then it becomes an opportunity. The contract is actually signed, the customer becomes an actual customer, and then that customer has to be supported. So basically it circles back into that contact and account database. So basically, as in the very beginning of one of those slides, we saw from the CRM phase, when a contract is signed, then we go into the project management phase. So project management is when a certain task defined in a contract has to be carried out by a customer, and it has to generate a specific result. So that's a very typical project management task, which has a specific beginning and a specific end to it. So within that one, actually the company may generate various services, may generate various products, and the more organized this kind of processing of different contracts in a project management process, the better the company is going to perform on the market. That will create increased customer satisfactions and increased productivity, better competitiveness, and improved cost control, and better decision making, and so on and so forth. So basically, there are all sorts of benefits why an organized and structured project management processes or project management, basically competency, should be cultured within an organization. So what is really project management? There are some very specific areas of project management which definitely need to be focused on, but there are many other areas which need to be also controlled or monitored. The most important ones are basically the scope, the cost, and the time. The scope is really determined by the customer. The customer will say, okay, this is what I want. This is the service, this is the product, this is whatever that may be. This is what I want. So really the scope is determined by the customer. This is fixed. Based on that one, the company has to act upon that scope. And through those activities of producing that particular result, the company will incur costs and will spend time on that. So these are the variables, but we can control those. So we can make sure that our costs is as low as possible, producing the best possible result, and our time is spent on tasks which are actually important and will add so that the scope can be created. These kinds of actions and scope and how the company acts will produce the quality of that particular service or product. So those are the main aspects where the companies need to focus, and the boundaries of every project will be really determined by the scope of that particular project. So here are those so-called process groups and knowledge areas which most projects would get through. So the process groups really initiating is when a certain project comes up and need to be started for various reasons. We need to plan it out, so it's not an ad hoc task. And then doing actually the job, doing actually the project is executing those planned tasks and planned activities. Throughout these planning, executing, and even closing, we have to monitor and control the scope, especially, so that we actually produce what the customer wants. We don't produce something else. And controlling especially the cost and the time the various participants in that project spend on those various tasks. And then we close, which means that we produce the result. These various knowledge areas is where basically the company has to have certain knowledge or experience so that those tasks can be carried out at a high level. This is the process which actually takes place in most of the project management jobs. So as you can see, the initiating process as it connects to planning, as it connects to executing that particular job, and as it closes. And as we can see here, that throughout these various process groups, the monitoring and controlling is overlapping. So we have to always watch that things getting done and as they should be, and we control the scope, the cost, and the time the participants spend on various tasks. So this way, we will create a high quality result. That's really the bottom line, that this kind of disciplined process and disciplined tasks and connections need to be always observed. So here is one particular project. This looks quite complicated. This is actually a pre-construction process with a customer. And there are all sorts of steps and all sorts of tasks in this and all sorts of connections within this. So what we want to basically achieve through various software tools like the project management toolbox or the customer relations management application is that these relatively complicated connections between tasks and many steps which need to be taken through a process can be more simple or simplified by basically programming it into an application. So all these connections and all these different tasks and steps are not missed or are not basically misplaced within the process, but actually carried out as it should be. All of them are monitored and controlled. So when we build in all these steps into an application, then basically a relatively complex task or complex projects can be better and can be more simple. So the customer experience, basically what we are ultimately looking out for. And the more project management becomes core competency within an organization, the better satisfaction customers will experience. So nearly half basically of the customers to have a better quality experience are willing to pay more actually for the services. So the other thing is that with this one, because of the better customer satisfaction, a higher competitiveness is generated on the market or competitive advantage, and that produces better revenues for any business. So 80% of business leaders believe that if project management becomes a core competency, it will help the business on the long run. We talked about various industries and how project management can be called or is called in other industries. We just take two examples here. So normal cases, we have various projects, and similar projects can be pulled into a program. In case of the law firm, they have various cases, and various cases belong to a particular client. So the client is the program, and the various cases are the projects. In the construction industry, we more talk about jobs and similar jobs, or jobs that belong or received by the company through one partner, that is the program. And then under that partner, we have various jobs. So here is how project management basically can be charted in case of a construction company. So we already talked about the collaboration and integration of the SharePoint platform. So when the project management toolbox is deployed within the SharePoint environment, it will provide a very high level opportunity to coordinate the various trades or the various subcontractors. Any construction project or development, real estate development projects would include. Of these trades, but regardless, all those trades, all those subcontractors need to be coordinated so that an actual housing unit or commercial property, whatever it is created, is built. We are getting through creating the scope of what that property should be. We plan it out, all the steps and the dependencies. So the framing doesn't roofing, obviously, and framing has to be done before roofing can be done, and so on and so forth. And we monitor and control time and costs, and then we create the actual result. The next one is in case of an estate planning law firm. So there are various tasks related to estate planning in green, and then there are various participants in the project team which need to be coordinated, like the investment counselor or various insurance participants or accountants and so on and so forth. So all those need to be coordinated throughout these tasks in green. The same steps are taken. We scope out what that estate plan has to achieve, and then we plan that estate plan, the actual proposal. We create it, and then we have to monitor it and control that whatever was planned out is actually carried out. So the tool which we're going to talk about, any of these tools, actually the project management and the customer relations management application, can be accessed through the SharePoint platform. And it's not just for the employees within the organization, but all sorts of partners or subcontractors outside of the organization can work on the same platform. And these outside of the organization participants can be invited, up to 50,000 of them. And the other great advantage about these kinds of cloud services is that these services or applications can be accessed from anywhere through any device at any time. So there are no limitations regarding accessing the same platform, the same task, or the same document. This is browser-based, so any device that has a browser will be able to access the application. So here are, in case of a construction project, the various screens that will basically produce a scope, and the company will be able to monitor or control the various tasks and schedules. We'll be able to benchmark and control budgets, which is the cost side of a project. Optimize resources, all the participants who participates in what, or coordinate trades, all the subcontractors outside of the organization. In case of a law firm, similar tasks, a little bit obviously different arrangement, but basically have to go through the same process groups as any other industries. And then finally, here are all these other applications HyperTeam produces, not just for project management, but HyperTeam has various human resource management tools or applications, various operations management tools and applications, and also HyperTeam produces applications on SharePoint for vendors as well as for customers. So that pretty much concludes my presentation, and now I will pass it to Shana, and Shana will basically show you how the project management toolbox is working, as well as briefly how the customer relations management application works as well. I will switch over to that screen, and Shauna will be able to start with the project management. I just opened the customer relations management application too. As you can see, it's all browser based. So let me quickly log in here. That Shauna doesn't need to stay. So here is Shauna. I get up to her, and we'll continue from here.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, so as Peter said, I'm going to demo the project management solution first. We fondly call this our PM Toolbox. It's a toolbox full of functions that are going to help you manage your projects. Like Peter was discussing, we all know that proper project management and customer relationship management are important to running your business, but sometimes it can seem a little overwhelming. So if we have the proper tools that are easy to use, those strategies and implementations become attainable and essentially intuitive. So this, what you see now on the screen, is the Project Management Toolbox homepage. These categories here, I like to think of them as folders. So they are where you have all of your projects organized into different categories. These categories, like most things within the PM Toolbox, are completely customizable. So, for example, a law firm may have them by client, whereas a construction company may have them by job. Over here, you're going to see my tasks. These are actually Peter's tasks, and it looks like they're still being loaded. But this is where you would log in the morning and see what it is that you have to do for the day. The next box are the favorite projects. Those are the projects that you use most often, or the projects that are most important to you. This is just an easy way to get to them. They're all still in the categories over here, but you don't have to search for them. They come up right away. The last box down here, these are my alerts. I'm going to get my deadline and budget alerts here. I'm going to be able to squash anything before it becomes a problem, because the PM Toolbox is going to alert me to it. Let's start by going into a project. So normally what you do is you just click the SharePoint button here. I already have Peter preloaded one for me here. Okay, so what you see now is every time you create a project, you create a project site. It gets its own site for each project. What you see up here is just a brief overview of what's going on with the project. Like we talked about before, if we want to make it a favorite, all we do is click the star. The documents are right here. This is my favorite part of the PM Toolbox. So you have the ability to create new documents right from here. So you can see you can create all these documents, and also use the OneNote notebook. We think this is a great feature because if I was out of the office, Peter would be able to go into my project notebook and see important passwords or client information. Everything stays here. You can create new folders to organize your information. You can upload documents that you have on your computer. And let's see, you can do a lot of things here. We can open any of these projects and work on them. It has a simultaneous editing feature. So Peter and Nikki and I could all be working on a project at the same time. And then every version that's created is tracked. So you're going to see who changed what, when it was changed, what happened with the change. And this is a great way, say we have 10 documents, versions, and we realize that at number 6, we messed something up. We can go back to 6 and start all over again. The other great thing is that you can share these documents. So you could share it with a client, an architectural drawing, share it with the client to have them approve it. You could share something with a fellow subcontractor and have them look at it. You can allow them to look at it only, or you can allow them to look at it and also edit it. You can also follow documents. So if there are some important documents over here and I want to know anytime something happens to them, I hit follow and I'll get a notification anytime it's changed. Down here you see the tasks for this project. These are Peter's tasks. It's very easy to complete them. I would just click here. And then up here you see the tiles. These are all the functions of the PM Toolbox that we're going to go over. The For Managers view, this is very originally entitled For Managers because it is for managers. It's a great way for them to get a brief overview of what's been happening on the project. They just log in, they can see who is in charge of what task, how much of it has been done, how long they've been working on it. It's a good way just to get an overview of the project. So as Peter said, the projects are broken down into pieces, the first being the process groups. What you're going to see next is each of the process groups that has to do with this project. This is a Home Builders Association demo, so this is a construction company's demo project. We have each of the process groups over here, the percentage that's been completed, its due date, some descriptions, all of the general information that you need is all right here. These process groups, like Peter said, are all connected to deliverables. So the deliverables are the tangible aspects of the project that need to be completed in order to complete the overall project. We see them all right here. We can see how much of it has been completed, who's in charge of them, and also which process group it's connected to. So you know, as you plug away at the deliverables, which process group you're working on completing. Within that, we have the tasks and the subtasks. These are the smallest pieces of the project. You can see that they're connected to a deliverable. As you check off each task, you start to complete each deliverable. When those deliverables are completed, you complete your process group. It's very easy for me to click off that something's been done. You see the due date, who's responsible for the project. This is where you delegate tasks to individuals on your team. So when Peter was creating this project, he had the opportunity to delegate a task to all of his team members, or he could even delegate a task to a subcontractor. You know, say there was a flooring that needed to be done, he contracted that out, and then the flooring company would only be able to see their task. So there's a lot of privacy within the PM Toolbox as well. Over here, you have the tickets. Ticketing is one of the functions of the PM Toolbox. It can be used for something like an IT problem. I would fill out a ticket and it would alert my team members and my project manager as well as IT that I was having a problem rather than running around looking for help. It can also be used if, you know, this particular task was supposed to take Peter 6 hours and it took him 10 hours. A ticket is a good way to account for those extra hours. Why did it take longer? It answers questions about invoicing, and it also helps you keep the business intelligence as you continue to use the PM Toolbox. Let's see. We're going to go back to the project home, and I'm going to show you another way to look at the tasks. So we just saw a list view of tasks, but we can also see it in a Gantt chart. A lot of companies use Gantt charts. This Gantt chart was created by HyperTeam. And Gantt charts are great. The only problem with them is oftentimes if you change, like everyone knows, project deadlines change, tasks change. But if you change something within your Gantt chart, you generally have to move everything around. The great thing about this Gantt chart is that if I take a task, I can very easily move its date, and all of the tasks that are connected with it, their due dates get updated. This task, its deadline, etc., will be updated. So it's an easier and more efficient way to use the Gantt chart. And it's a good visual representation of your project, which I really like. We're going to go back to the home page. We already talked about ticketing, but we're going to go into expenses now. So the PM Toolbox is set up in a way that you can not only track your overall expenses, but also all the categories. So oftentimes companies know generally what a project is going to cost them. They've done this project many times. So the PM Toolbox allows you to put in your benchmark, how much it typically costs you, and then also track how much you spend as you go along. So you put in your total expenses, break it down into categories. It tells you how much of each category you've spent, and you can even go into each expense and see who spent the money, what it was spent on, when it was sent, etc. Now we can go into, so when we looked at the tasks, we all saw on the very right-hand side the number of hours that had been worked on to complete the task. That comes from recording work time. So we all have timesheets. Regular project. This is in the index, the project and the demo project. On this here. Nope. We'll preload if there are any tasks that are associated with it. I'm going to say I was working on task 1. I got 100% of it done. This is where I could create a new ticket as well if I needed to, but everything went as planned, so I'm just going to hit save. It's going to not only on my calendar that's what I spent the morning doing, but it's also to be added to the work time on the side of the tasks. So you're going to be able to keep track of how long things are taking you, which makes it easier to understand your ideal process. Another great aspect is resource management. This, I think, is one of the coolest parts of the PM Toolbox. So what you're going to see all of the employees and the month, and then each box is one day within the month. The percentage you're going to see inside the box is how much of their time has been taken up by previously assigned tasks. So if Peter's going in and he has more tasks to add to this project, and he needs to assign some people to the project, he's going to go in and say, okay, our pod is obviously busy. Not only am I not going to assign him any of the tasks, I'm going to take some tasks from him and assign them to Shauna, who has some free time, and Mate, who's probably sitting around playing Candy Crush because he's not doing anything. So obviously this is just a demo site. I'm sure Mate is very busy, but this is just a good way to organize your resources and not only get your projects done more efficiently, but also keep your employees happy. Let's go. We can also do reporting. So there's a reporting feature of the PM Toolbox. Like I said, pretty much everything in the PM Toolbox is customizable. These reports are customizable. You would just go in, you can pick one or a few projects you want to do. We're going to do the project we're doing now. You pick the date that you want it done for. This is an older project, so we'll go back. We'll go to November 1st, submit. So we have two types of reports. We have Word reports, which are a general overview of what's been going on. Like I said, this is a demo site. This is just a demo report. Whatever you want this report to say, it can. And then we also have Excel reports. These are more of the nitty-gritty, detailed reports. They can be in PDF as well, so that they can't be changed. Just depends on what you want. Every time one is generated, it goes into the documents. There's a folder on the document section of the homepage of this project site, and all of the reports automatically go there. You can download them manually, or you can have them downloaded every Tuesday at 4 o'clock and have them sent to this person and this person. Peter, me, and Nikki would all get one. It's whatever works for you. You see, you have the phase, you have the deliverables and the tasks, who's in charge of it, how much of it has been completed. You can see that this one here has 0% complete, so if I was Peter's manager, I'd probably start asking him when this was going to be done. But like I said, it's just a good way to get an update on the project. All right, so we have covered everything in the project site. So the last thing I'm going to show you here is how to create a project. So what's going to pop up is a project site where you can fill in all the fields. It's a demo, so there's kind of every field that we felt someone would need. This is very customizable. And what I want to really talk about are the project templates. So the PM Toolbox comes in 3 versions. If you think, that is a really great tool, but I don't need all of that stuff, you can use the basic project template, which is just where you track your tasks. If you need a little bit more than that, the moderate template is where you're going to be able to track tasks and deliverables. And if you say, no, that's great, I need all of that stuff, then the advanced template is for you. That is where you're going to be able to do the process groups, deliverables, and the tasks. What I also want to talk about is the PM Toolbox is really great for reoccurring projects. That means projects you do over and over again. The PM Toolbox can be used for unique projects where you manually put in all of your documents or your tasks. But what is really great about it is, say a construction company has a certain type of job that they do every time. We would come in, help you sort of identify your ideal process for that, and then there would be a template for that type of project for the company. They would click it, type in the basic information like names and due dates, hit save, and then the project would automatically be generated. It would have all of the documents preloaded that the project team was going to need. All of the process groups, deliverables, and tasks would be there. So they're basically ready to go. If you have someone new on your team, it's very easy for them to follow along for the process. So that is what I wanted to show you here. Basically, you would just fill this out. Only the things with the stars are necessary to create your project. Whichever category you chose to put it in is where the new project site would appear. So now we are going to move into the CRM. The CRM, this is the CRM homepage. So like the PM Toolbox, it also has a homepage. This, like most things in the PM Toolbox, are all customizable. Mine gives me my task alerts. It gives me my open opportunities, what's been happened on my CRM this week, and also my calendar. Like Peter was talking about, there is a way to add all of your contacts. Those are the individuals, the actual person. You have your list view, the default view. You can search for them here, give people permission to see the contacts, and even connect projects to the contact. We have accounts. Those are the organizations. So it could be a business, like 1-800-Flowers.com. It could be a university like FGCU. That is how you would define a contact. You can add new contacts, edit them. Again, it's the same, give people permission to see them, connect projects. We have the leads. The leads is where there is some kind of interest, a general interest from maybe one of your contacts or your accounts or someone new. You can add a new one. Again, all the same up here. These are my leads right now. We also have opportunities. Opportunities, as Peter stated, that is where your lead gets more specific. They are interested in a specific product or a specific service, and you can connect something to them. And that would be here. This is a list of all my active opportunities that are open. Again, if they were to order something, I could connect a project to it, and it would take me back to the PM Toolbox. You can keep a list of your products within the CRM. You can attach documents and also attach emails to any contact, account, lead, or opportunity. You can import and export new contacts. You can keep track of your marketing campaigns and your events. You can assign tasks within the CRM, so a follow-up on when you need to want one of your employees to call a certain person or follow up on a service. You can create tasks. There is an integrated calendar here for all of my events, tasks, and campaigns, and you can very easily search the system for anything. The system is really good for keeping track of not only those business cards that you have piled up on your desk and putting them in, but also every time you talk to someone, you can write a note on the contact or the account or the opportunities so that you know what's happening and your employees know what's happening with all of your clients or potential clients. So, all right.
All right, thank you so much, Shauna and Peter. We have a few minutes to answer some of these great questions that we have popping up. First one being, my company doesn't need this much functionality. Can we only track tasks?
Yes. So as we discussed, that would be the basic template in the PM Toolbox. It would be very easy for you to just track the tasks, the deliverables, and the process groups.
Okay. And another question we have is, do I have to have Microsoft Office installed on my computer to use them in the PM Toolbox?
No, you do not. Basically, as Shauna already showed it, it can be all done within the browser. I will just go back to this particular project, and I can quickly show you how that works. So as we are here, right under the document, and we click on this plus sign, I can just right here in the browser create a Word document or open a Word document just the same way. So if I click on it right here, the Word Online comes up. So I can create a document, or I can view the document, or I can edit a document.
Okay, great. And we have another one regarding the PM Toolbox is, can the reports be in PDF?
Yes, they can be created in PDF.
Okay. And here's a question about CRM. What's the difference between a contact and an account?
So a contact is the individual, the actual person, and then the account is the organization, the business, or the university, the government agency that maybe you would connect the account to. You could have the contacts listed under the account.
Okay. All right, and we have time for one more. What is the difference between a lead and an opportunity?
So as Shauna already pointed out, as well as I talked about it in the presentation, a lead is created out of a database when there is an interest, any kind of interest towards the services or products of the company. When that interest becomes specific, which means that a specific product or a specific service the customer actually wants to buy, that's when the lead becomes an opportunity. And that's when within the opportunity, the company starts to work on actually creating a contractual relationship. So that is the difference.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, and that's all the time that we have for today. We hope that you enjoyed the webinar and gained some new and exciting insights into the cloud technology, SharePoint, project management, and the CRM. If you have questions that you would still like answered, or you're interested in discussing anything that we talked about further, please send us an email at info@hyperteam.com or give us a call at 888-466-0710. Thanks so much.
And we are off.